We're going to move on from the risks of World War III to the risks of, well, the complete destruction of the humanity on the planet Earth, which seems to be where we are with AI. Rishi Sunak has vowed to keep Britain safe, though, from the dangers of artificial intelligence after a government paper called the technology an existential threat to society. Documents published last night by the government warn that advances in AI will make it cheaper and easier for hackers, scammers and terrorists to attack victims, all within the next 18 months. And in a speech this morning, the Prime Minister promised the UK will lead the way on AI regulation while still harnessing its benefits.
Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. We're building world-leading capability to understand and evaluate the safety of AI models within government. To do that, we've already invested £100 million in a new task force, more funding for AI safety than any other country in the world. And we've recruited some of the most respected and knowledgeable figures in the world of AI. So I'm completely confident in telling you that the UK is doing far more than any other country to keep you safe.
Well, that was Rishi Sunak speaking this morning. Joining me in the studio right now is Futurist and Barrister Andrew Eborn, who joins us on alongside Russell Quirk. Good afternoon to you.
And lovely to see you in the studio.
I know, it's very exciting. I'm getting to meet lots of people over the last few weeks. Yeah, I just existed on a little box in the corner. Right. Very nice to... Of course, we're on the box in the corner, aren't we, for everyone else? But there we are. Really good to speak to you. Knowing you're in person and you're not a made-up AI designed character that who knows anymore. We've heard so much about artificial intelligence over the recent years. I mean, I think most of us had no idea what it involved at first. First of all, it was like, this is amazing. It's going to be breakthroughs for cancer, for space research, for goodness knows what. It's going to really change our lives. And now we're hearing nothing but doom and gloom about how awful it's going to be, including the possibility of basically destroying humanity. Talk us through it.
Both of those things are right, Julia. And what I love, you and I could have written Rishi's speech and when I spoke to you around the world about AI. And I always say that AI, it's our greatest human achievement, but also potentially our biggest existential threat. And the reality is this, is what AI can do, it can discover things that previously could be unthought of. So we're finding advances in medicine. I work very closely with Moorfields and Rishi referenced them this morning as well. And basically from the eye, we can detect things like Parkinson's 7 years ahead of time on that sort of basis.
And is that because basically AI works at such a speed, can go through so many different sort of possibilities, billions and billions in a nanosecond, that they can do, they sort of can basically take 10 years of medical research and do it in a second.
It's exactly that. So you have as though you've got the world, it's like the hive, if you like, the hive of information, all in one sort of nanosecond can do that. It also can create all sorts of things. So in the front and centre of the writers' strike and the actors' strike at the moment, basically what's happened is they can create videos, they can create images and so on and so forth. And that can be used for both good and bad. The good side is Bruce Willis, who has aphasia, he can continue to earn money now by licensing his AI image, which he did to a Russian telecom company for zillions. Tom Hanks, in the same breath, he didn't license his thing, but suddenly turned up in a dental plan, and, as you do, and all of a sudden he realised, this is not me at all, this is an AI fake. So what we need to look at is the sort of reality about how we can harness it. So it's two sides of the conversation. What Rishi wisely said in his speech today is, I don't want to be alarmist. I don't want people to panic, but at the same time, we have to recognise there are these challenges.
It's all very well saying we shouldn't panic. I would say that, as you say, there are loads of really, really positive things that can come out about this. And again, it can revolutionise our healthcare, our knowledge, and I mean, space travel. I mean, goodness knows what. But so many of the people who were involved in the early stages of developing AI, some of the most powerful figures in that industry have kind of got together in recent months going, we're getting a bit worried about this. And even if we do have regulation, well, that's all very well. But I'm picturing, we could be regulating in the UK, in the EU, and maybe in India, in America, whatever. I'm not entirely sure they're going to really care about that in Russia or in China, and indeed in Iran, as we've just been talking about those countries, about in relation to the Middle East. But also, I'm just picturing in my head right now a James Bond villain living under the sea, stroking his white cat, and plotting using AI. Now, if this technology is so brilliant and can be harnessed for good, but also for evil, we've got a lot to be worried about. Regulation isn't going to...
Well, you're absolutely right. And what Rishi was saying in his speech as well today is, look, he's invited China coming along to this, the first ever AI safety summit is happening at Bletchley Park, which is the home of the Enigma Code and that sort of side. And that's happening. And China being invited to come along because we need to make sure that everybody, it's not just us, it's a worldwide situation.
But the Chinese aren't going to... The Chinese are the biggest carriers out of computer IT espionage in the world.
Yeah, and that's the problem. You've got to turn around and say it's all very well having regulation. Let's talk about enforcement. The first thing you have to do is to understand the risk.
Yeah.
What Rishi again
and let's face it, most people in government, like most journalists, we haven't got science degrees, haven't got computer, we don't really understand it.
Yes.
And therefore, that's why we're really bad at... They're really bad at regulating things like social media.
Oh,
they regulate adults when kids are still at risk, etc., etc.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you some examples of the risk. A lot of it's about disinformation.
Yeah.
So if you not just have fake images, but you can have fake video, there's fake audio which has come out. There's been suggestions that it can...
And they are so realistic.
They're incredibly realistic. You cannot tell the difference, especially audio. And there's been lots of those sort of situations where you have an audio coming out.
I'm not even here. I'm on a paradise island right now. This is an AI version of me. They could have made me younger.
Oh, there you go.
With better hair.
Nobody could make you look better, Julia. It's glorious.
He can come again.
Yeah, it's glorious.
I mean, he's blind as a bat, but hey.
I love it. I mean, but that's the reality. But also what it can give you is immortality. Because I love the idea, the fact that if we record you once, I can promise you the world. If you can basically continue to earn money in your sleep. So if you turn around with every image that's ever been recorded, every soundbite you've ever done, could be licensed to people around the world. We've had this with...
Have the people of the world not suffered enough?
Well, but this is the great thing about it. So from the entertainment point of view, I'm an intellectual property lawyer. I talk about this stuff around the world as well. What you're looking at is working out the sensible licensing mechanism. If you know you can earn money in your sleep, and you can get together and make sure the finances are right, that's the way to do it. The actors are worried they're going to do one day's filming, they'll never work again in their life.
If you could see Russell Quirk's... I love this. Russell Quirk's face the whole way through this. Are you scared about this stuff?
Well, I was smiling because I'm reminiscing about the fake AI Keir Starmer audio that was circling around 2 or 3 weeks ago, where everybody realised very quickly that it was fake because he was decisive and interesting. So, look, surely the answer to AI... developing itself, which is the problem, insofar as it then becoming kind of overdeveloped and running away with itself, over which we have no control. Can't we just unplug it, Andrew?
Well, that's the problem that people said. That basically, the machine could take... Absolutely, the machine could take over. But what they do is rubbish in, rubbish out. And they did say, one of the people say, look, if AI is going to take over the world, what would it do? It would analyse all of the history and work out there's a long history of people using bows and arrows in war and a very short history of using more effective weapons, if you like. So they're unlikely to do that. But we do need to understand.
I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, we know lots of sci-fi writing has been about, the robots taking over. Why wouldn't they? They will very quickly realise that we're rather sort of pathetic sort of animal specimens and we're quite illogical and emotional and we don't make sensible decisions most of the time. Welcome to our lives.
Yes.
And they're going to say, well, we're much better at this than you. We're going to end up sort of in the Matrix, just sort of plugged in in an egg.
I think you're also right on that basis. And I think sometimes...
I didn't want you to agree with me.
I could agree with everything you say, always. But the reality is this. Sometimes the AI can misunderstand. And there's a few examples of that. So, for example, you say, end human suffering. Well, you do the research. Well, hang about, to end an animal's suffering, you put it down. You work on that basis. No, exactly. Wouldn't that be scary?
Yeah.
I talked to you previously when I was in Carcassonne. Remember, yes. I spoke to you about the AI girlfriend.
Yes.
And the person who broke into the palace, intent on killing. You've had a couple of those. Yes, they've written to me.
He said he broke in because he was told by his AI girlfriend. Absolutely. And that was reminiscent of the film Her, which is a brilliant film.
Absolutely.
Well worth watching. And this man thinks he's having an intense romantic relationship with a voice in his head who's actually a robot having 2 million, 20 million relationships at the same time. So worth seeing. But this is the thing. We were told, with the internet, it was going to be the most wonderful thing. It was going to bring knowledge everywhere. Now, there's no doubt at all that a lot of scientific breakthroughs happen quicker because this stuff can be shared so much more quickly and freely when it's not being censored online during lockdown, etc., etc. But actually, a lot of people said people can have access to knowledge. You're not going to have to buy a Britannica encyclopedia or go to the library. You're going to have it literally sitting in your hand. And actually, it's made people a bit more stupid because they're sitting on TikTok and doing stupid dances and watching watching nonsense videos.
No, and you're absolutely right.
So is there a thing that AI is just going to dumb us down and then we're going to be even more vulnerable?
There is a risk of that if people get lazy. So and
we are lazy.
We are lazy. And so we're always looking for the easy way out. I think Rishi mentioned wisely, again, you and I have spoken about this, about being a co-pilot. Well, you have to turn around and say, look, let's use this tool. Let's understand it's going to be there.
And that's in particular relation to jobs, isn't it? Because every new development, people say, oh, we're going to lose jobs, so you no longer have stenographers and typists in the office. But then because bosses were typing their own letters, but actually those jobs will change.
Yeah, and printing presses, so on and so forth. Goldman Sachs predicted by 2030, 300 million jobs will be lost to AI. So it's exactly that sort of
stuff. But there may well be 300 million
new jobs coming in, absolutely.
Because of AI.
And I think other skills, I mean, we talk about oracy, you know, I think learn at school, recognise, and I'm a big advocate for people embracing AI rather than just dismissing it. Turn around and say, look, this will write your first draft of a speech, it will do whatever.
I don't approve of this.
But you can turn around and then get questions. So we have to recognise on that sort of basis that there are new skills. Also, what's interesting is ChatGPT.
I was just going to ask about that, because I'm lots of head teachers saying they're embracing it. Rissa, you've got 3 kids. Are you allowing them on any of these things, or are they doing it anyway?
I was just going to say the dumbing down of the human race started with allowing calculators in maths exams, didn't it, of course? Look, I'm hoping that this whole AI thing can first and foremost be focused on politics. Fix politics with AI. Let's do that first.
OK. Absolutely fascinating. I'm not entirely sure that I feel safer at the end of that conversation or not. I'm going to go with no. But there we are. I think it was nice having you in. Andrew Eborn, barrister and futurist. Best job title going. Thank you so much. And thank you also to Russell as well.